whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
And there I am. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. I really appreciate everyone joining us each and every day. I want to start off by saying thank you to our exclusive and founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. I heard Mark having a bit of difficulty spelling out Steve Moskowitz's names because it matters. Moskowitz, you spell it like it sounds. That's basically how it is. But someone with the name of Nikki Medoro, you'd be amazed at how many different spellings I get for both of those names. So I've been, kind of imagining, and I know Steve's not here yet. He's going to join us in a little bit. So you guys, the early birds over here, you can hear my new jingle. Are you ready? I've been kind of practicing it. I practiced it a bit in the shower. So you guys can tell me in the chat whether or not I should sing it for Steve. Okay, so I need to spell Moskowitz LLP for all of those people out there that can't seem to do it. So I was practicing a rap version, but I didn't know really if that was going to fly with Steve. So I decided to do kind of more the car dealership, kind of jingly type one. Okay, you ready? So it is Moskowitz LLP. I think I got it. I mean, and I could trademark that. There's no copyright here. I know YouTube's all finicky with all that stuff. So let's do it again. Moskowitz LLP. Is it a winner? I mean, come on, guys. That works, right? That works? Come on. I think that works. All right, there we go. All right, I'm getting some thumbs up over here. Starting off, please hit the thumbs up button right now underneath the video for each and every show. That really helps us out. The thumbs up helps gain exposure for the show for people that don't already know about us. And we're in our third week after the switch of format for Station X. And so myself and Mark Thompson were really trying to grow the show. So if you click that thumbs up for each and every show, it's already been helping us so much. So I really appreciate it. You can go to my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, and support us financially. With our Patreon. It's been up and running. I thank everybody that's been reaching out every single day and donating to the Patreon, because we obviously need money to continue doing the show, because this is our job now. We're making a go of it on this new platform. Myself, Kim McAllister, Mark Thompson on Mark Thompson's show, and that whole crew. And so it really, really helps. And of course, the Super Chat is live. And so I really appreciate people that have already been doing it. Have been donating money in the Super Chat. Andreas, he's been showing me some early love and showed me a lot of love yesterday as well. Gave me a bit of a birthday gift. Already bought a $10 super sticker. Thank you, Andreas. And then threw in another $20 in the Super Chat. That is so amazing, and we really, really appreciate it. It's weird for us terrestrial AM radio people to kind of do the public radio type of thing. It's not easy for us to kind of talk about money and the need for money, but I appreciate you guys so, so very much. And so thank you, Andreas. And I got another super sticker, Beth Farmer, for $9.99. That is amazing. So yeah, thank you. The Super Chat live chat is always open. You can also find links to everything in the About section of the show right underneath. And you'll find links to the Patreon and my website and the podcast. By the way, I know that this is a new platform. Some of you, are out and about, can't be looking at your phone the whole time. Maybe you're driving. This is a podcast. You won't obviously get the visuals of the whole entire thing, but you can listen to it. And there's a link to the Spreaker website that has all of our links to the podcast apps out there, because there are so many of them. We're trying to get on Apple. Apple's being a little uh, difficult. And so they have a few more rules that go around there. So, but we'll be on Apple soon, but we're on a lot of the other podcasts as well. Big show coming up. In the next half hour, we'll talk a bit about social media, TikTok, politics surrounding TikTok. Years ago, they said they weren't going to allow all these political ads. Now it's hard to not do it. And so, what is the role of TikTok? And even in this new platform, it's going to be interesting to follow uh, you know, content creation and kind of feeding the internet beast and what Twitter is doing with the possible payment for a blue check mark as a verification and what that all means. So that's coming up. The Dungeness crab season's going to be delayed again. This is becoming a tradition, apparently. The California teacher shortage. It's getting worse. I talk about human infrastructure so much because everyone has big ideas, right? You have all these ideas, but if you don't have the people to do these things, whether it's the care courts or teaching our kids, it doesn't mean anything. And so that's all coming up on this show. But we do have a huge election coming. And there has been a lot of questions about voter integrity, voter fraud. What are the facts? What are the lies? And so joining me this afternoon is Sameea Kamal, who covers the state capitol and California politics for CalMatters. And thank you so much, Sameea, for coming on the Nikki Medoro show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I wanted to bring you on. And again, I'm going to link your article to my social media feeds because I feel like, especially given the last election and where we are as a country, people just want to know the facts about whether voter fraud is a big problem in a state as big as California, and what ways do we have to ease anyone's concerns. So you lay it out pretty nicely in your article, talking first about election integrity. It seems to be this phrase that we often hear about. What is election integrity when it comes to, knowing that when you cast your ballot, what you and who you voted for is actually going to be counted?
Yeah, like you said, we're hearing election integrity a lot. It's kind of been weaponized, but the idea is free and fair elections. You should be able to vote for who you want. You should not, have any barriers to voting. And so, California does have a lot of protections in place to try to make sure that, no one can prevent you from getting your ballot dropped off. No one can sort of no one is allowed to pay you for your vote, that kind of thing. So I think some of the important safeguards are every ballot has a barcode, and that prevents anyone from voting more than once. And, I think it's also worth noting that elections are such a huge operation, but they're administered locally. So every county in California, each elections office is operating the election for their county. So for example, in Riverside County, there was an incident where 5,000 voters received duplicate ballots. And hearing about these incidents, it's, it happens every election. Fortunately, it's such a big operation that something is bound to go wrong, but it's good that we hear about it. That means the elections officials are being transparent. Also, because of those barcodes, they can make sure that all of those ballots, the duplicate ballots, no one can vote more than once.
And that's an important thing to mention is, if I got sent 5 different ballots, I mean, it doesn't matter really because they're only going to count once because there are these systems in place that check, correct? I mean, let's make this abundantly clear to people. You can't vote twice, and if you do, it'll get caught.
Yeah. And by the same token, you can track your ballot. That's another safeguard. You can make sure that no one is taking that extra ballot and voting for you. So there are several safeguards in place.
Perfect. Now, if you're just joining us again, I am speaking with Sameea Kamal, who covers the state capitol and California politics for CalMatters. And we're talking about what you need to know about voter fraud. Sameea, How big of a problem really is voter fraud? I know you just mentioned, a handful of ballots, a couple thousand ballots, duplicates were sent to home, but actual voter fraud, does it happen or have we seen it happen where it's actually could change an election?
We have not. I have quizzed and badgered Secretary of State's officials about this question, and there has not been evidence of widespread voter fraud in California.
And so why do you think, I mean, when you talk to secretaries of state and when you talk to election officials and when you talk to people that work the polling booths, I mean, what is it? Is it just commentators kind of spreading these kind of rumors? Is it sore losers? I mean, what do they think it is? Because what more can we do? And I want to give you a second to catch your breath. Believe me, as someone that talks all the time, cough away. But I feel like, as a voter and as someone that's in the media and hears all of these stories all of the time, we give people the answers. We give them track your ballot. We give them barcodes. We give them all of these things. And there seems to be a disconnect between the truth and what they believe.
Yeah, I think, like you said, social media is a great tool, but it can also be tricky because something that, someone might be not even trying to spread misinformation, but they see something weird and they're confused about it. And then that snowballs into some kind of election fraud rumor. So what I've heard from a lot of officials, from counties to the Secretary of State's office is, before you take to social media, just ask us, approach these officials, call the hotlines. You can submit an online complaint form to the Secretary of State's office and kind of go to the source
Exactly.
before taking to social media. But I think there's two elements. There's confusion over some things, such as, during last year's recall election. Excuse me, I'm just
No,
having
go
a
ahead.
bit of
No, it's okay. Go ahead and cough. I totally get it. It's happened to me more times than you can count. Now, while you're catching your breath, and you could totally cough again. When people look at election results, there is a big question, and I think I saw on my Twitter account yesterday there was this banner, and it says it takes time to count ballots. Is the fact that it's local and some people do it, quicker than others? I mean, is that something that we can get a universal timeline, or is it just something voters need to expect?
I think it's just something voters need to expect. I think the state, and any state, is always trying to balance accessibility with transparency. Um, the ability to vote from via mail, it gives people more options, but it does mean there's more of that backlog. So yeah, I think it's something voters will have to accept.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you kind of coming on and clarifying these things that people might not like to hear. Like, I don't think people like to hear, I won't know once polls close or when I wake up in the morning who won or who lost or what passed and what didn't. But if people could just understand that this is the way it's always been, it's just the narrative of elections has been hijacked, maybe their concerns will be eased. Sameea Kamal with CalMatters, she covers the state capitol and California politics. I really appreciate you coming on. I'd love to have you back on. I know you're going to be busy over the next week or so, but I'd love to get you back on.
Yes, I'd love to come back with my allergies cleared.
No problem whatsoever. You're great. Thank you so much. Have a great
Thank you.
morning or afternoon. Thanks. Yeah, it's tough. As someone that talks in radio, I could see her slowly trying not to die. Okay. So let's read some of your comments regarding this. So Francis got into the live chat. I was saying, I mailed my ballot. I got a text saying they got it, and then a text saying it was counted. I love it. You could track your ballot. Anyone out there not trust it still, though? I mean, seriously, what concern do you have regarding election integrity? What concern do you have that the ballot that you sent in is going to be changed? I mean, do you really think that that's going to happen? Eric Kennedy chatted in. My only worry on ballots is that mine might get rejected because my signature has changed over the decades. We talked about this on Station X not too long ago. There's actually a process where they will let you know if there's some sort of question about your signature. And then they give you time to kind of bring in your ID and prove it. So it's not as if they throw away ballots all willy-nilly. It's not as if they're like, oh, there's a little discrepancy. That loop on your signature isn't there anymore or what have you. That's not happening. It just doesn't. It's unfortunate, though, because I think the great thing about our country is that we believe in our elections. We believe in the systems that we set up. And even if we don't like, and let's say good afternoon to Kim McAllister, we're talking about voter integrity. And we just had Sameea Kamal with CalMatters on talking about, tracking your ballot. Making sure, that what's counted and that it's there, you can do that whole thing. And the fact that people need to understand that it takes time doesn't mean that something nefarious is going on. But we need to believe in our elections and accept the results of them for this whole United States of America experiment to continue. Because if we don't, if every time our team loses, we start, raising, conspiracies to explain it all. I mean, we're never going to move forward. And there are so many issues that we have in this country that we're wasting time talking about this nonsense. Vanessa Pacheco, I think we have a great system here in California for voting. It's very transparent, and we work to enable people to vote rather than hindering them. Exactly. Another one about the signature. I'm only worried my signature won't match. Also, I enjoy going in person on election day. That's awesome. Perry Joe, I already voted, and I will be a poll worker. I have full faith in the system. That's awesome. Perry Joe, reach out to me. I've been wanting to talk to poll workers, especially in light of what's happened in the recent elections where, they were being stalked and death threats and all sorts of things. So reach out to me, the Nikki Medoro show at gmail.com. Maybe I'll bring you on the show and we can kind of delve into that. But right now, we need to bring on a very special gentleman. It is the exclusive and founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. And Steve, you weren't here at the beginning of my show, but I tested out a jingle for you because we want people to be able to spell your name and your website correctly. Okay. So I was going to do a rap and then I was like, I don't know. I don't know if rap is the way to go. So I decided to go the jingly way. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Nothing like the jingly way I always say.
Okay. So this is mine. It's trademarked. Okay, YouTube, if you're listening, it's mine. So I made this up just this morning. And this is how I'm going to get people to remember how to spell your name. Okay. Moskowitz.
Wow, that's really good.
I mean, it's like jingly. It gets in your head. I don't think anyone's going to forget it. I heard Mark earlier having a little bit of an issue. If he remembers my jingle, Steve, I think we're good.
Well, that's wonderful. And, one of you have such dedicated listeners that one of your listeners for both you and Mark has been emailing back and forth with me. And he mentioned that. And I appreciate that in emailing back. You have such great listeners. And if he's listening
I love
right
it.
now, he knows who he is. And we appreciate the comments. We've had multiple emails so far.
Well, and we want people to remember how to spell your name and to spell it properly, because when they have tax problems, you are the guy to call.
That's right. And, that's true. If you any type of tax problem, whether it's, you can't pay your taxes or you forgot to file your returns, or you're thinking about doing a transaction, you want to know what the taxes are, or on the other side, you say, Steve, I've been hearing you talk about this ERC thing. Does that apply to me? And ERC, Employee Retention Credit, that's where the government is giving away, Nikki. It's a grant, not a loan. They just give you the money. And he said, well, how much could it be? And I realize people's facts, circumstances, results can differ. We've had individual clients that got millions of dollars. And we have a lot that get hundreds of thousands and, 200, 300, 500. And then smaller amounts, 70,000, 50,000, 10,000. And it's funny, I was talking with Mark earlier, and you get so used to seeing, hundreds of thousands. Somebody says, you're only getting 50 or 70,000. Well, wait a minute. You could have one guy that has his own corporation. He's it, one-man show. And he get up to a maximum of $26,000 just all by his lonesome, if he otherwise qualifies. And, to a lot of people, sometimes you're dealing in millions. Sometimes you tend to forget, $26,000 is also, for most people, a nice amount of money.
Heck
especially
yeah.
if it's a gift. If you
Yeah.
won a lottery ticket and you said, Nikki, that ticket you bought yesterday? Well, it's worth 26 grand. You'd probably be happy. Kim, you'd
I'd be
probably be
so
happy.
excited. I would be so excited.
And the bottom line is there's two different ways to qualify, the easy way and the complex way. The easy way is really easy. Did your gross revenue drop a certain amount? Yes or no? Nothing to talk about, nothing to think about. But a lot of firms stop there and they say, that's it. If it didn't drop, no ERC for you. Wrong, because the law says there's two methods, either or will qualify. The other method's far more complex. It's a facts and circumstances method. We have to figure out, do you qualify? We're willing to take the time to sit down with you, figure it out. And sometimes I give clients homework. Sometimes when I talk with them, I say, well, you didn't tell me enough. I can't make the decision on that. I want you to send me an email and tell me about A, B, C, D, and E. And maybe we do have multiple meetings. But if it's there, this is somebody else's money. And if they're entitled to it, I want to get it for them. Even if somebody else told you didn't qualify. Sometimes somebody says to me, well, Steve, during the pandemic, my gross revenue actually went up. How could I qualify? And I had a client that expressed it perfectly. And he said that in his case, his unit cost went from $7 a unit to $22 a unit. So he had to raise his fees to cover the cost. And he said he lost a lot of business because a lot of people said, no, I won't pay that, and went away. Lost a lot of business. So there's all kinds of ways to qualify. We'll go over that with you. On the other hand, avoid like the plague the fraudsters. And the IRS is investigating. There's a lot of fraud going on with the ERC because they're giving away so much money. Mm-hmm. And there are companies that have just come into existence just to do ERC. They've never been around before. They don't do anything else. And when the IRS has a few questions to ask, they're going to be long gone. You're never going to be able to find them again. We are a law firm. We have practiced tax law for over 30 years. We're here for you. And we warn you against the two extremes. Keep away from the firms that only want to do it the easy way and don't want to sit down with you and figure it out, because you can leave a lot of money on the table. And obviously, nobody wants to commit any type of fraud. So I think that goes without saying, but I'll just mention, you really, really, really don't want to do tax fraud. And talk to us and let's see if you qualify. And if you do, let's get your free money.
I love it. I love free money. So give Steve a call. 1-888 tax deal or MoskowitzLLP.com. That's MoskowitzzLLP.
I love that jingle.
I mean, I feel like it wrote itself, Steve, but
I'm loving it.
Okay, good. As long as you like it. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty. I came
We
up
need
with
to need to record it and set it to music. Maybe I'll have Julia fire something
there
up.
You go. Mm-hmm. There you go.
You guys can get together and collaborate later.
It wasn't that difficult to come up with that jingle. Maybe I have a little side hustle going on, but I do want to say right now, if you guys can thumbs up on this show every single day, just click that thumbs up, the like once, and it really, really helps us out. It helps expand the show and do all of those things. Again, my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, has links to our YouTube channel that you could share with your family and friends. So please do that. Also has a link to our podcast if you want to listen to us, and also has links to our Patreon, which is a way for you guys to basically subscribe to this show financially and help us out because we need to. We've already been getting some super stickers, some daily donations. It's honestly, you guys have been great. The latest one, let's see. Brendan Hollister gave us one for $4.99.
Thanks, Brenda.
Mike Paul's $10. Daily Show last night. Jordan Klepper, you should watch it. Somebody else was in the chat room. Here it is. Mike Blumenkrantz. Jordan Klepper last night interviewed some Proud Boys who monitor, quote unquote, polling places. And one of them insists that it's not legitimate if you don't vote in person on election day. That person is a moron. And you heard what happened in Arizona. So remember, we talked about this. A family that lives in Arizona. My brother lives in Arizona. My sister-in-law lives in Arizona. And so there are a bunch of these people. I don't know if they were Proud Boys, but they were monitoring ballot boxes. They were armed. They were taking pictures and videos of voters. They were posting information about voters online. They were spreading lies, falsehoods, about election laws. The group Clean Elections USA stated its goal of preventing voter fraud by staking out ballot boxes to ensure people don't behave as mules. Remember that mockumentary? By illegally casting multiple ballots. Now, we just spoke with Sameea Kamal with CalMatters about you could be sent 100 ballots in the mail. Only one counts. That's the way the system works. In recent weeks, self-described mule watchers, some of whom were armed, have gathered around outdoor ballot boxes in Maricopa County to take pictures of voters. Last week, the League of Women Voters sued the group, said it was voter intimidation, and now a judge, Judge Michael T. Liberty, issued a temporary restraining order. Now, I'll also add this caveat. Liberty, appointed by Trump. He has prohibited the group and other people from taking videos of voters, any sort of voter intimidation. Basically, he's told these people to cut it out. And I'm happy to see this headline. So they can't take photos. They can't openly carry their firearms near ballot boxes. They can't post information online. Now, when I had mentioned this last week, I believe it was, I said, who's watching the watchers, right? You have to be able to not just take it. You have to be able to respond in a peaceful way. I don't want, people having a shout out or a shootout or anything like that. But it matters. Let's see. Vanessa, I think we have a great system for voting. It's transparent. I think I read that one. Again, with the signature. Natalie, my 18-year-old still does not really even have a signature. He asks me how to do it every time he has to sign something. This new generation are screwed with needing matching signatures. That's interesting. So my kids are in middle school, and sometimes, the technology agreements kids have to sign, like I'm not going to mess up the computer that you're given, or like my son has a saxophone that's the school, so he has to sign something. I always ask him, okay, sign it. And I watch what he signs. My son has a smiley face in his signature, apparently. I don't think he's going to keep that when he's an adult. But that's a good point. These kids need to figure out their signature. What did he put on his driver's license? That's the signature you need to try to copy more than anything else. It's definitely going to have to be Natalie, who was writing in about the signature. Your 18-year-old is just going to have to figure out what the signature is and then stick with it. It's hard to do, but you're going to have to do it. Let's see. Oh yeah. Thank you to Mark De Leon, $4.99. Thank you so much for donating to the show. A lot of you are writing in about the rain. Sorry, as I lean out of screen. I'm not getting any rain in San Jose. I'm not outside my window.
Doesn't look like it's raining here either. So
yeah. What is it, Lee Hester? Yeah, shout out from the cold and wet South San Jose. Well, maybe it's heading my way. I'm right there.
It's interesting about kids' signatures. I had to get my kids the California state ID for some reason. I had to fill out some paperwork and get them, and they have to sign it. And so those signatures that they did, I will always keep those little IDs because I love their little signatures. They're not going to stay like that, I'm sure, but they're really cute.
Not.
Yeah.
No, they are not. It's cute to watch, but I remember figuring out my signature. I also remember figuring out that my signature, my writing style is very similar to my mother. And so we have very similar handwriting. I could probably, not that I need to, but I could probably forge her signature. Floyd, I was just riding my bike in downpour. Are you in San Jose? I'm assuming. Oh, there we go. Cambrian area has wet ground, but not heavy rain. I have some big news about that neighborhood, Cambrian.
You
my
moving?
Parents' neighborhood. That's my parents' neighborhood. That's my neighborhood. That's my hometown neighborhood. We made a list. A Zillow list. So I'll be talking about that later. Amy, the dog walker, caught in the rain for a second day in a row.
Oh, no.
Now, I can't imagine you can hold Amy an umbrella and walk dogs. Do you get like one of those like hat umbrellas or something? Francis, Morgan Hill, clouds and constant light rain, sun and blue sky disappearing. Yeah, it's not here. I'm actually seeing a little bit of sunshine. I feel like peeking through something. Perry Joe, Jim Bob. I was told by election officials a printed name is sufficient if they registered that way. The officials compare these. Oh,
So as
Okay.
long as you have the same, you write it the same as when you registered, whether
Right.
it's cursive or printing, whatever it is, that's what they want you to do.
Am I wrong
Right.
that a lot of people register to vote at the DMV when they I mean, is that
I mean,
one
you
of the
can
ways people
register to
can?
vote. Some people at the DMV, some people,
Yeah.
seek out, some people even outside of grocery stores, they'll register you to vote, or you can go get a form and register yourself. So not always.
Ren 0287 regarding signatures in Sonoma County, you can call the registrar of voters to check on your signature to make sure it matches. It's probably the same in other counties. Okay. Well, see, there's a bunch of ways, a little bit of effort, people, to make sure. I mean, we're hearing stories across the country about these sorts of things. Yeah, Natalie, it's common to register at the DMV or in high school. Exactly. That's what I did. And my signature hasn't changed at all. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break for the news. We'll also, it's not a sentence that I thought would come out of my mouth, but Ted Cruz is actually calling out former President Trump. I'll tell
What?
you why. I know, right? I was like, wait, what year is this? What?
Mm.
No, so I'll play you the sound of that. We have a lot coming up in the next half hour as well. There's a new Happy Meal that's coming out. I'll show you that. Remember the whole fear about fentanyl and the Halloween candy? Well, we'll let you know if any kids actually got any treats in their bags. Terrible treats. President Biden addressing oil prices. Are we going to run out of diesel fuel? And the Fed raised interest rates once again. And so, what's that going to mean for you and your pocketbook and what this means for all of us? That's all coming up right here on The Nikki Medoro Show. But first, some headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, The Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And I'll just preface this by saying I've been having some sound issues today, so I hope I don't drop out too much. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. The Federal Reserve is increasing interest rates yet again in an effort to curb inflation. The increase is 0.75 percentage point. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell saying the Fed is committed to bringing inflation down to 2%, and he anticipates ongoing increases. Also, almost 2 in 3 registered voters believe the economy is currently in a recession. A Politico Morning Consult poll showed only about 22% said the opposite. 14% had no opinion. Republicans said the economy was in a recession more often at 81% versus only 51% of Democrats. The White House says democracy is under assault by those who refuse to accept the results of free and fair elections. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said President Biden will call out election deniers and condemn political violence, that in a primetime speech tonight. Jean-Pierre said there's an alarming number of Republican officials, she said, who suggest that they will not be accepting the results of various contests. American Airlines Pilots Union rejecting a proposal for a new contract. The Allied Pilots Association said the board voted against the deal. It called for a 12% raise for pilots on the date of signing. This after United Airlines pilots turned down a similar deal yesterday with even larger raises.
What do they want?
I know. I don't know. I have to find out. Like, how much do they want? 12% seems pretty good. I don't know.
Well, when you hear numbers like that, then it's something else. So it's probably work overload. We're not getting enough time off. It has to probably do with the actual job and not the pay, because I'm like, well, geez, man, how much more do you want?
Right, exactly. A Bay Area company that manufactures COVID tests is laying off more than 1,000 employees. That according to a worker adjustment and retraining notification, or WARN letter, recently went out to Cepheid. The company produces a 15-minute COVID test kit, among other medical tests and devices. The largest job losses will be at their Newark manufacturing center in California. They're shutting down, leaving 683 people without jobs. Job cuts also affecting their Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, and Lodi locations, with a total of 1,046 jobs cut.
Well, I mean, it's terrible to hear about layoffs. It makes sense that the company is not going to be long lasting because you don't have such a run on these tests. I mean, that's a good thing, right? I
I
mean, that
mean,
we don't need as many.
COVID isn't over, and we still need to know if we have COVID not to pass it around.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sorry. I was thinking that these were like the at-home kind of tests, right?
Yeah, they're a 15-minute COVID test kit.
Yeah. So like my daughter, she has a medical procedure tomorrow, and so we had to go into the hospital to get it. And it was like, in comparison to what it used to be like, the line was long, but that's because there was only one person doing it because it wasn't that many people that needed the test. So I feel like we're seeing fewer people needing to test, but who knows what the winter is going to bring? That company might be laying off people a little too early. Who knows?
I mean, who knows? But I don't see a decrease in need for the at-home COVID test kit.
Yeah, but I mean, do they need to put out as many? What I'm saying is, if you needed all of these workers to help ramp up production and give them
Sure.
out, and now people aren't testing as often for the variety of reasons that we know, it makes sense
Right.
they need to downsize. Not that you don't ever need the test, but you probably don't need as many people working there.
Well, that's 1,046 jobs in the Bay Area that will
Sucks.
be gone. Yeah.
Mm.
Manufacturers of plastic bags in California will have to back up their claims that the plastic bags are recyclable. That's the message that California Attorney General Rob Bonta gave today in a press conference. He said he sent out letters to 7 manufacturers to substantiate their claims. And those manufacturers of plastic bags now have to produce evidence by November 16th, or they could face potential enforcement. And here's a Guinness World Book of Record attempt, a Salt Lake City nonprofit trying to put a local Day of the Dead event in the record books. More than 100 people participated in the event at Trolley Square over the weekend, bringing more than 1,200 photos of deceased loved ones with them. The nonprofit that hosted the event, Una Mano Amiga, claims that they are the first in the world to bring this many pictures to a Dia de los Muertos altar. Guinness World Records doesn't recognize that category as of yet.
That's a pretty cool. That is a pretty cool record to have. And yeah, they should do that. I mean, what a sight that must have been to see an altar with that many pictures. That's amazing.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses alike. So if you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can catch him on the web at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
That's moskowitzllp.com. There you go. I'm just going to do it every time now. I am. Hit the thumbs up. Please, please, please smash it, as Mark Thompson loves to say. I want to say thank you to Linda Delaney, a $5 donation to our live super chat. Linda writes, when I was in my early 20s, I changed my signature to be all lowercase just to be unique. Now at my advanced age, not sure that was the best idea. All lowercase. Okay, Linda, all lowercase cursive or all lowercase print? Because that's a difference. I could probably do my signature pretty quickly in all lowercase. The only thing in my signature that I don't actually make correct cursive is my K's. I don't particularly care for the K cursive. I just make it like a printed one, but I make it all swirly and nice. But yeah, do you write in cursive still, Kim McAllister?
Yeah, in my signature I do.
But any other time?
Yeah, I do.
Right.
If I'm right,
Yeah?
if I happen to be writing a letter or something.
So you don't.
Sometimes. I mean, I don't seek out not to. It just,
I don't know the last time I wrote a letter. I don't know the last time. Yeah, that I didn't print it out. Doesn't it seem odd, like if you want to send somebody a correspondence and it's not like a family letter or a Christmas card or something like that, to not use a computer? It seems like you should, like, I need to be professional and this is official, so it has to be typed out. If you wrote it with a paper and pen, it'd be kind of weird. But it shouldn't be.
After you get laid off, then people kind of come out of the woodwork and, offer their condolences and sorry that happened to you and whatever. I had one friend who sent me a handwritten note. That I thought that was really, really sweet. Yeah. And it stood out because no one else sends letters like that anymore. Megan. Thank you, Megan, for that letter.
Oh, hold on. Let's do a quick shout out to Center Spot Gazette, who gave us a $4.99 donation into our super chat. Again, that is live and up and running. Linda wrote back, though, into the chat. It's cursive. Now it kind of looks like a teenager's signature. Yeah, I wonder what my signature is going to look like. Speaking of people that have reached out, I have a bit of a tease. It's not until next week, and I'm hoping for Monday. Guess who called me today?
Oh.
And I just, you see phone numbers, and you know me, Kim. If I don't know the number, I'm not answering it. But
Lee Hammer. No, John Rothman.
No. I wish. I saw Lee yesterday. That's a story for next hour. Libby Schaff, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaff gave me a call. Yeah, she reached out. She said she was sorry to hear what happened at Station X. And I told her, I was like, you're always welcome. I know that you're being termed out, but she might come on Monday. And she gave her last state of the city address. We're trying to work out a schedule. But it was really, really nice of her. I mean, she's the mayor of Oakland. She doesn't need to reach out to me. I had her regularly on the show, but a great supporter of, broadcasting and media. And she was shocked by the news as well. So it was just really, really sweet that she took time out of her day to kind of reach out. Okay, so it's not something I thought I would ever see or hear. But Senator Ted Cruz has called out former President Trump. So apparently Cruz has a podcast. I would never listen to it, even if he paid me. But it's called Verdict with Ted Cruz. And he sat down with his co-host, Ben Ferguson. And they were talking about all of these important races that people are keeping their eyes on, across the country. And one was a Senate race in Colorado between Democratic Senator Michael Bennet and Republican challenger Joe O'Dea. Now, Cruz was basically talking about how O'Dea, again, the Republican challenger, made a huge mistake. And what was said mistake? Well, of course, it was not bending to former President Donald Trump. So let me play you this sound. I had it right here. Here we go. Okay. So here again is Ted Cruz on Verdict with Ted Cruz talking about O'Dea's mistake and, of course, the expected backlash from the former president.
I wish O'Dea had the judgment just not to poke the bear. Just don't piss off Trump, because the races we lose are races where there's a pissing match between the Republican candidate and Trump.
It's a self-inflicted wound almost every time when you look at this map at this point.
And do I wish Trump would exercise the restraint not to take a bat to him? Yes. But he's not going to. I will say, by the way, I wish Trump was spending some of his money. Trump's got $100 million, and he's spending almost none of it to support these candidates. That is not ideal. When Mitch McConnell only spends for the moderates and the anti-Trump candidates, it would be nice if Trump would spend some of that $100 million to help some of these candidates who Mitch is abandoning because they're pro-Trump. Those are the two pockets of money that are there. And right now, neither of them are spending in a number of these states.
Interesting. I mean, he was dropping. I don't think it's a secret. It's interesting to hear Ted Cruz say that Mitch McConnell is not going to give any of the money, from his war chest over to these Trumpers. Quite interesting. But also, who's surprised that Trump doesn't want to dig into his war chest either? I mean, he's like, you're using my name and my endorsement, and that's enough. You know it. You know he's going to keep every dime that he can. He's just
notoriously stingy.
Yes.
He likes to hoard money. Cruz says that Trump has $100 million and spending almost none of it. To support Republicans in tight races. And there are some tight races. There are some where they might be able to flip them. And so if they want to hold on to those seats, you would think that they would be spending to keep them. And Trump says, nope, not my money.
No, exactly. And what is he holding on to it for? Right? I mean, he has $100 million war chest, and he's going to figure out a way for him to use it on himself and his family and his kids and to his own benefit. Why would he ever willingly give it up? You would think that if he has a war chest and he sees close races and he actually believed in the candidate more than just the fact that they like him and won't speak bad about him, but actually was like, no, this candidate is going to help this state, help move this country in the right direction. I get a sneaking suspicion. It's like, nope, You could just talk and praise me and speak kindly about me no matter what I say or do. And if you talk negatively about me like O'Day did, well, you're dead to me. You're not getting a dollar from me. But he's not giving dollars to apparently even those that are, kissing the ring, as they say. So it's just another grift, I think. And he's just scamming people.
How does Ted Cruz have time to do this podcast video thing, The Verdict with Ted Cruz? He's sitting there. They've got this studio up with the leather couches and the fancy microphones and a
are you getting jealous?
Wall. I wonder, like, is he not a sitting senator? Does he not have a job to do? Like, why are you not in Washington, D.C. or, doing at your desk, doing the state's business, representing your constituents? Why is your butt on a leather couch pontificating about the president's war chest? He seems like an awful lot of hot air and wind and, I want to be seen and less substance.
Well, yeah, that's the understatement of the year. I'm surprised you're not filming it in, Cancun or something like that. He'll probably say if a reporter, for instance, asked you a question, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I've got many interests and I can do this, that, and the other. How much time does it really take? It's a podcast where he talks about whatever the hell he wants to talk about, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, and I don't know how often he puts it out because again, it only caught my eye because I saw a headline where it said Ted Cruz calling out former President Trump. I was like, wait, what? Yeah. Why did that happen? But other than that, I could give two rats' butts about freaking Ted Cruz's opinion about anything.
You mean you're not a normal Verdict watcher?
No, I did not know about it until literally that headline. Look at this one. This from Vilma. Isn't that great? Let Trump keep his money. Cruz doesn't care about his constituents. Nope, he does not. We saw that with the whole Cancun thing, and Texas was freezing over and where the hell was Ted Cruz? And he left his dog behind, which I'm sure there was someone taking care of the dog, but the picture was hilarious. But, Ted Cruz, on one hand, not a dumb guy, right? Intellectually, he has an education. And even hearing some of those clips, because I listened to a bit longer of it when I pulled that one clip, he's not stupid, but he cares more about his own personal and political aspirations than he does about this country and telling the truth. And that's the truth about a lot of politicians in Washington where, and again, I don't agree with anything politically with her, but Liz Cheney, she gave up her political future to speak truth to power. And there's nothing I respect more than that.
Well, and you heard Ted Cruz in the sound that you played saying, hey, all these races where people stand up against Trump, they end up losing. He said you can see it across the board. So what he's telling people to do is not piss off Trump. But you know what? If all candidates stood up and said, no, we're not doing it this way, then we could actually get back to what's right versus what's wrong versus what you really think and not appease some guy in Florida. And so I think it shows what kind of a guy he is when he's talking about, if you stand up against Trump, you lose, that he's someone who's unwilling to do that and to be himself. That means he's changing himself or kowtowing to Trump just because he wants to win.
And I've asked that exact same question of why don't these Republicans just band together and ignore Trump, because he is a thorn in their side. And the only thing that I can that pops into my mind, I should say, is they're scared of something. One, losing their job, which I think is obvious. But two, I think, attacks like at Nancy Pelosi's house, the death threats that we've been seeing politicians, honestly, on probably both sides of the aisle, but obviously more Democrats have been getting these death threats from people that are Trumpers, MAGAs, right? It seems to be there might be something under the surface. They're like, look, I'm not going to risk my family by sticking my neck out and calling out Trump. But if they could band together and ignore him, that'd be awesome. And maybe that's what Mitch McConnell's doing. It's like, look, I'm going to use the only way I can, which is money. Campaign money to get all of this nonsense or as much as possible out of Washington. I despise Mitch McConnell. I think that he is one of the tumors of Washington, D.C.
I'm not a tumor.
But if that's one thing I will agree with is get these freaking morons out of Washington. And this next election, and of course the next presidential election, is going to tell us a lot. All right, let's switch gears just a bit. So on Halloween, how many, Kim? I don't know if you noticed, how many of the pumpkin, what was it, a ghost, a witch, the McDonald's Happy Meal pails, how many of those did you see? I saw so many, because remember
I saw a lot of them being used as candy little buckets. Yes.
So our across the street neighbor, she has sons. They're so cute. She got every single one. And when I saw her on Halloween, all of her boys had one. And she's like, I even have more at home. I'm like, you're insane. You are insane. But there is now another Happy Meal coming out, and it's not, kind of bringing us back to the old days. It's Wakanda Forever. So McDonald's is teaming up to kind of promote the new movie. Let me show you some pictures. So here is what the Happy Meal pail, it's not a plastic pail, it's the paper one. It's going to look like kind of the Wakanda Forever Black Panther type of symbol.
It's not really one that you save, though. It's just like the cardboard, right?
Yeah, it's just the cardboard. But here we go. These are the ones that you're going to want. These are all the action figures.
Oh.
They've got all of Black Panther. They've got all of the characters. Now, these are pretty cool. I think there's going to be definitely a rush on these. So the movie comes out in a week or so, November 11th, Veterans Day. Comes out on Veterans Day. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever stars Angela Bassett, amongst many other people. And so, yeah, they're teaming up. It'll be available starting now while supplies last. Do a little commercial for McDonald's. But if you want,
people are selling those Halloween buckets. Look at that, $8.50 for the ones from this year. That's more than a Happy Meal.
$81 for 3.
That's for a vintage.
But are they just using the word vintage, or is it? Maybe that the lid on that one, makes it vintage. Interesting. $8.50. Better than $8.10. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pay any of that. It's plastic.
No.
You were. What was it? Friday. Was it Belinda Weymouth that Mark has on talking about plastic?
Oh, and said drinking out of plastic bottles even. You get an iced tea or a water. She said drinking water out of plastic bottles. And I forget how many parts of plastic she said, but it's thousands of little plastic, remnants floating around in the water that you're drinking.
Yeah. So if we want the vintage plastic McDonald pail or the paper one, I think it's better to go with the paper one. I think I remember because I was listening to Mark's show at that time, and you were talking, was it Julia who was saying that she's made up of plastic?
Well, it was the day that Belinda had said that, and I told Julia, who was drinking one of my iced teas out of a plastic bottle, I said, Belinda says that there's lots of plastic floating around in there. And she looked at me and she goes, Mom, I have a plastic in my body already. It's probably coming out of the tap. It's in the air we breathe. It's in probably every part of my body. So I don't think the little sips that I'm taking of your iced tea are really going to make any difference. And it was sad because it's like kids know that, they see the studies that marine life in the bay is found with these plastic and fire retardant in their systems. They know that we're all absorbing all the toxins that we're depositing to the environment. But her defeatist attitude was like, oh, Julia, that doesn't mean you can't at least try.
Well, exactly. Exactly. It reminds me of this documentary, and I'm trying to find the year that it came out. 2007. And it was called King Corn. And it was talking about the corn industry, growing corn, but not to eat, but for fuel, how much corn is in the food that we eat. And it was basically kind of saying the same thing of how much our body is actually corn. And, they were being a little facetious, but not really. Thinking about our diet and how much corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup and just, driving past, there was this one point in the documentary where they're driving past cornfields, and there it is. And you couldn't eat this corn because the corn that they grow for things like ethanol or whatever, and I think it's ethanol, you can't eat that corn. It's not edible because of the way that it's made, I guess. And so it's all this food But you can't eat it. It's not for human consumption. I don't know if you die if you ate it, but it's just not the same type of like sweet corn or corn that we normally eat.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when we talk about plastic and what we use and what we just grab naturally. My friend, I'm not looking down on her for getting the Halloween pails because they're fun and everything like
Yeah.
that. But think about how much plastic
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
around us. And then I believe Belinda Weymouth was talking about the fact that it's not being recycled.
No.
That is not the way we're going to get out of this plastic mess that we're in. It is literally stop using plastic. We just have to stop. Hold on, put that one back up. Sandbug said, I kept thinking you said corn. And I
No.
couldn't figure out what the heck you were talking about. Corn with a C, King Corn. It's quite the distinction. Totally different documentary.
Our thing has always been, we know we can't prevent our kids from, absorbing some of the things that are bad for them. We can't,
Right.
It's not an elimination. It's just kind of a, what you can do is try your very best to limit it. And so that's
Right.
why we'd buy organic things, organic milk, there were babies to feed them, because you can't
Right.
eliminate it, but you can limit it a bit. And so if you can, not have chemicals in their systems by buying the organic raspberries, then maybe it does something.
Yeah. I
If
was
you
trying to explain that too.
throw in the towel, then
Well, then it's just going to exponentially get worse.
Yeah.
My son was before Halloween. There was something about like organic pumpkin or whatever. He's like, "What's an organic pumpkin?" And I was teaching him, organic just means it's not using pesticides. It's grown a certain way that organically, and it doesn't mean it's healthy. I'm like, if you have organic flour and organic sugar and eggs and everything like that, and you make a cake, it's still not the healthiest food for you. But yeah, it's understanding what we choose to put in our body and what we choose to purchase. And Randy chatted in with a good point. Sure, stop using plastic and use what instead? Well, and Eric's responding, of course. There's biodegradable alternatives. Some of them are corn based. Exactly. Paper straws, hate them. But it's not a big deal to me to use something like that. And also just thinking before you go and buy something, right? Like, do you need that? Do you need that one use only fork or knife? Changing your habits. It's going to be slow. It's going to be hard. I always go back to like the petroleum commercials when we were kids, right? Plastic. It's like this great thing. It's in the hospital. It's in this, it's in that. And it is just now everywhere. And I don't know, unless we can find a way to reuse it, we're not going to be able to recycle our way out of it. And that's just the most frightening thing. Okay, so we're coming up. Okay.
I was just going to say, there's a restaurant in Petaluma that all of their utensils are bamboo, made of bamboo.
Do people steal them?
Well, no, they're disposable.
Oh, well, is that environmentally friendly? Bamboo?
I think so, because bamboo is a sustainable resource, right?
But how do they farm it? See, that's my whole thing. Like, are animals living in the bamboo forest? It's kind of like, the palm oil type of thing. Like, are we creating one environmental disaster, animal disaster?
You have so many good questions.
I don't know. Whenever people are like, oh, it's made of this plant, I'm like, okay, well, who lives in that plant? Like, what is the real impact of this? Beth Farmer has a jacket made out of recycled water bottles, a pic, or I don't believe it. No, I'm just kidding, but I'd love to see a picture. You can email it to me. That's cool. I mean, the resources, I'm always going to be the negative Nancy here. Well, how many fossil fuels were used to create the plastic jacket made out of plastic bottles? And does it really negate the environmental impact of the actual plastic bottle? So it's all of this kind of gross versus net. I use corn-based compostable kitchen garbage bags and dog poop bags. Think of the idiocy of wrapping biodegradable poop in plastic that lasts forever. Yeah, someone like decades from now is going to have a really stinky problem on their hands.
Why did they preserve their dog poop in plastic? I don't know.
There's so many things I wonder about what people are going to think about in the future if they had like a time capsule of things, and the filters that we use when people look at pictures of this era, and we have kitten ears and dog tongues in our pictures? And are they
Yeah.
going to know that
Are they not? What are they
are they gonna
doing?
know? Is that real? Did they evolve in some way?
I was
All the
going
confusion that's going to happen. It's
I
going
was
to be
going
too
through the
much.
Halloween candy, and one of my kids a box of Junior Mints, which is a cardboard box full of like,
Okay.
3 or 4 Junior Mints in it.
Right.
But the Junior Mint folks then took the step of wrapping the box in plastic. So it was in a plastic bag, a box in a plastic bag. Why? Why don't you just give the box? Why do you have to put the plastic around the box?
Right.
don't
I mean, it's
understand.
kind of like when people get a mango, for instance, or an avocado at the grocery store and put it in a plastic bag. I don't understand that. Just
Mm,
just put it in the cart. It's
yeah.
nothing on the outside you're eating, right? So you could just, if it's that. Joe says our trash company won't let us put compostable bags in the recycling. They go in there, they go in your recycling and take it out? Or how do they notify you, Joe? I mean, what are they doing? How do they know the difference? Is it like the green bag, like at the grocery store where they know if it's an organic bag versus a regular bag?
Mm.
Just stop already. Make it easier on people. That's all I'm saying. Okay, we are going to have more after the news right here at the top of the hour, including I did meet up with our old boss Kim yesterday,
Mm.
but I did something I did something specific so that I could take advantage of something that's spreading all across the Bay Area. So I'll explain that. There is a rumor going around that we are going to run out of diesel fuel. So we'll get into the facts surrounding that as well. Apparently, we've been pronouncing Adele's name wrong. So we're going to have her say it. And I don't know if we're exactly saying it wrong, but you tell me. And then, of course, the human infrastructure problem that we always seem to have continues inside our California schools because we can have great plans to do things, but if we don't have the people to do it, we know what's going to happen. But right now, let's take a look at some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. A new poll says half of Americans are confident that next week's election results will reflect the will of the people. That according to a survey from CNN, which puts the number at 50%. It's an increase from this summer when just 42% said they were somewhat confident about the election results reflecting the American people's will. North Korea fired more than 20 missiles off its eastern and western coasts overnight, the move prompting South Korea to issue an air raid alert on one of its islands. The newest missile launches came just hours after Pyongyang said it would make the U.S. and South Korea pay the most horrible price in history over ongoing military drills. A mother in Kansas convicted of leading an ISIS battalion. She's now on her way to prison for 20 years. Allison Fluke Ekron was sentenced in federal court in Virginia on Tuesday. She had pleaded guilty in June. Jack for tonight's Powerball drawing is up to an estimated $1.2 billion. Nikki, I sent you an email. We're doing a pool. The payout is climbing toward the 2016 record prize of $1.5 billion because no one has hit the jackpot in the last 38 drawings. And you know what that means? It's due to pop. It's going to pop for your 1.2 bill.
My husband came home yesterday. He's like, I bought a Powerball ticket. I'm like, good. You can't win if you don't play, and someone's going to win. So might as well be me.
And that's what I say, because, you have 1 in 292 million is the chance you'll win. But you know what? If you don't play, your chance is 0 in 192 million. And I prefer the 1 in 192 million.
Yes.
Speaking of voting, you're talking about voting and the fairness of elections. In Yolo County, they are inviting the public to observe the processing and the counting of vote-by-mail ballots. The process starts this Friday at 1 p.m. The totals won't be posted or otherwise made public until after 8 p.m. on Election Day next Tuesday, but they're going to start counting on Friday. So anyone interested in observing is asked to send an email to elections@yolocounty.org for details, and that's strongly recommended, they say, that everyone, regardless of your vaccine status, wear a mask, but they want people to come. Because they want you to feel comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Speaking of elections, San Joaquin County's transit service is providing free rides to election polls for anyone who needs one. Express, local, and hopper services free through the San Joaquin Regional Transit District on Tuesday, November 8th. They're calling it Buses for Democracy program, trying to get as many people out to the polls as possible. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. So if you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can catch him online. It is moskowitzllp.com. I can't sing it, but you know it.
I will do it.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Hit me. Yeah.
moskowitzllp.com.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, I think I like it. I mean, I made it up, so I'm kind of biased, but please do give Steve a call if you have any tax needs. Big thank you to DDB, a Patreon contributor who just donated $10
Thanks,
to our
Dee Dee.
super chat. Thank you so much, Dee Dee. She writes, I'm also a Patreon contributor, but we want you to be successful and keep the lights on. Yes, please. And by the way, I mean, the sun is shining through my curtains, people. I don't know where you're getting rain. I'm not getting any rain whatsoever. We were talking about plastic and alternatives. I have straws made from corn syrup. Amy Brown texts in. They're just like plastic, but way better for the planet. Eric says, I do use compostable straws where possible, though. You know, I have, because I'm dark and my mind goes in these directions, my in-laws, they're the sweetest people. And they love going to they go to the flea market probably every week. And they buy us stuff that they know I need. So I break glasses regularly. And so they always buy me plastic cups all the time. They think, oh, we got you more plastic cups. Great. Well, I like to use reusable straws. And they keep bringing over, they've done it twice now, metal straws, which I do like.
Yeah.
But because of my darkness and because we've heard news stories about this, I keep putting them in the drawer and I don't pull them out because I keep feeling like I'm going to trip, fall, and have it stick right into my eye.
Oh my God. Seriously?
I do. I seriously, every single time I take it out, I go, maybe not today. Maybe I won't skewer my eyeball today. It's happened. It's happened to people.
They make the metal straws with a silicone area, like between the tip and then the body of the straw, that makes it bendy.
Yeah.
So you need one of the bendy metal straws, then you can't injure yourself.
No, I just need, I need to get, so I also have rubber straws, right? That you can just kind of use the brush and clean it out. I like those because no matter how hard or what freak way I may fall on my cup, as if that happens and it doesn't, but you know, figure, it freaks me out. It really does. And so every time I'm like, I like the idea of a metal straw. And there's two kinds. There's the ones that are just straight up and down. And then there's ones that kind of bend, but not like the metal bends. It's all metal, but it kind of, and the one that bends, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do one, I'll do that one. Because I'd hope that my luck would be like, I wouldn't land directly right on the edge. But
all right, we need to get you maybe this kind, I think.
Oh, let's see.
Using plastic, but you can not hurt yourself. Well,
yes. You guys, I'm kind of clumsy, and no, I'm not throwing glasses at my husband. I literally, anybody that knows me is cracking up. I'll just be standing there, and my hand. At first, I was like, there might be a medical condition with this, but all of a sudden, I'm done holding that. My hand will be like, and we're done, and I'll just drop it on the ground. Or one time, the worst time, I'm at I think a party or something, and I have a glass in my hand, and I just take it and I just slam it down on the table really hard and shatter it everywhere. It's like a horror. I don't know. It's like my hand sometimes has a mind of its own, and it's just like we're done with that. And it's happened.
I don't understand.
I don't either. I'm weird. It's awful. But if people hand me glasses when I go to somebody's house and I know them well, if I'm somewhere fancy, obviously I will drink out a glass and really try because I've failed many times. But if I know you, I'll be like, do you have a plastic glass? I just know myself. I'll drop it.
And then you're drinking out of plastic and you know where that goes.
I know. See?
Yeah.
Oh, we just made a whole full circle on the whole damn thing.
That's right.
Okay. What was I going to talk about today? I wanted to throw this one in. So, guess how many pieces of free drugs ended up in kids' Halloween bags this year?
I'm gonna say 0.
0 is correct. The
Yes.
DEA says we've seen nothing that indicates that there's been 0 reports of kids finding fentanyl in their Halloween candy. Now, we've passed the point of no return. You can't show up with a Halloween bag and say, now I have fentanyl in it after they have this headline, because somebody could have put it in there after the fact. But yeah, this whole scare that came up. Now, anything that makes people more cautious, I'm okay with. But flipping the narrative on where this fentanyl is being found can be dangerous, because it's being found in the drugs you're choosing to buy, right? I mean, nobody's giving you the free drugs in your Halloween bag, but if you use cocaine, if you use ecstasy, which can be in a pill form, it may be cut with fentanyl. And that's who you need to talk to. You need to talk to recreational drug users and make sure that they understand the risk of this happening. But no, apparently the DEA has said 0. Big fat goose egg on how much was found.
I still, though, much to the went through all of their candy to make sure that like nothing was tampered with. And Julia's like, why do you do that? Like, why are you
checking
doing that? And I'm like, because that's what we do, right? Like, we're told you got to check the candy. She's like, Mom, there's nothing in there. She's right, but
I know. But you still
it.
check because you're a good parent. And I was talking to my daughter about it, and she was laughing. She's like, oh, I won't put anything in my mouth. You scared the crap out of me about that years ago. And I'm like, good. See, pat myself on the back a bit there. But it is true. You have to check. Also, something else that happened during Halloween that I felt kind of bad about, and I feel like I'm getting scammed with how much candy cost this year. I would say 3 times I went in to give a kid a piece of candy, and I'd pull out like peanut M&M with nothing in it.
Oh, huh.
And so one time I like almost put it in some kid's bag. I'm like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's because they had to lay off the quality control people. And so you know how it goes.
Yeah,
somebody had
exactly.
to get laid off, and the QA guy was the first to go.
Exactly. Well, speaking of people and situations that may arise if you're laid off, or if you've been hit by COVID, or you have some sort of money tax problem, let's bring in our tax guy, Steve Moskowitz, who you can find at 888 Tax Deal. Give him a call there, or online at moskowitz.llp.com. Hey, Steve.
Hi, Nikki. You know, I love your show, but I could just tune in now, just hear the jingle.
There you go. I have to record it. I'm going to do something. I came up with the lyrics. Now I gotta figure out how to put it to music. But
really
Steve,
like it.
you deserve a jingle, because people need to remember how to spell your name, how to find you online, how to give you a call, because you can solve so many tax problems and help them sleep easier because they don't have to worry about the IRS coming after them.
That's right. I like to call it sleep, the sleep of the innocent. You know, suppose, for example, somebody has a tax bill and they just lost their job and they can't pay it. You know, there's a simple solution. We go there and say, you know what, leave my client alone until he or she gets their new job or their new business. Or we may do something called an offer in compromise. That's where you just pay part and the government forgives the rest, or monthly installments, or get the penalties forgiven. Or another one, you were married to a bad person and the bad person cheated on their taxes and you filed a joint return, and now the IRS is chasing you instead of the bad person. You say, hey, wait a minute. I'm what's called an innocent spouse. Don't look at me. Look at the bad person. Shift it to where it belongs. There's all kinds of things. But there's good things too, like this ERC that we've been talking about. This is an opportunity for employers to receive up to $26,000, Nikki, for every employee they have that qualifies. And that's up to 500 employees. More than 500 is a special rule. But the bottom line is this has made the difference for so many people. And a lot of people are getting substantial amounts of money. But there's a lot of confusion going on because there's 2 different ways to qualify. And the law says either or. But a lot of firms are just taking the easy way out. The easy way is if your gross revenue dropped by a certain amount, you qualify. Oh, we start there too because it's the easiest. And if that's what you had and it dropped, wonderful. But suppose it didn't. Suppose it even went up. Can you still qualify? Yes, if you meet a certain facts and circumstances test. we take the time and the effort to go over that with you. And sometimes I even have to give people homework where I say, well, look, you've given me some valuable information, but you haven't told me enough. I'm going to need some more to make the determination. You can get this for me, because I don't want to leave $1 on the table that could legally belong to a client. A lot of firms don't want to be bothered. We care about our clients. We want to get them the money. On the other hand, there's a lot of fraud going on right now. And there's a lot of pop-up companies that just came into existence just now to file for ERC, and then they're going to be gone. I see their ads, and I say, wow, some of the stuff they're telling is just wrong. But the bottom line is the IRS is investigating the fraud cases. Clearly, I don't think you need some tax attorney to tell you, don't commit any frauds. But just in case, I will make it real clear. Obviously, you do not want to be committing any tax frauds or any kind of frauds. Avoid those companies like the plague, but also avoid the lazy ones that don't want to go ahead and see if you gross revenue didn't go down enough, if you otherwise qualify. We're a tax law firm. We've been practicing taxes for over 30 years. The only thing we care about is getting you the best possible deal within the bounds of law, and we want to get you every penny to which you're legally entitled.
He does the easy work, the hard work. He does the work because he knows what he's doing. So give Steve Moskowitz a call, AAA Tax Deal, or MoskowitzLLP.com. That's MoskowItzLLP.com. Steve,
That's so good,
thanks
Nikki.
so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, so again, AAA Tax Deal. I love my jingle.
I wonder who he was referring to when he talked about people being laid off, unable to pay their tax bill.
I
think maybe he could be me. He was referring. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not looking
we
forward
got
to that next
Moskowitz in
year.
our back pocket. I'm telling you.
I told him, I'm like, you're going to do my taxes because you understand the nonsense that we've been going through at the end of this year. It's ridiculous. Oh, my goodness. All right. So, well, speaking of layoffs, so I had to meet our boss, our ex-boss, Lee Hammer, yesterday.
Lee Hammer.
Because I had equipment here, they brought us in and laid us off and I wasn't anticipating it. So I had to bring a bunch of stuff back. And it was really nice to meet me kind of halfway and instead of driving all the way to San Francisco. And he's a nice guy. And you could tell
it's not his fault. It was
not
never his fault. Yeah.
And, I've worked with Lee for so long and that he feels bad and I don't blame him. So we were kind of chit chatting, but it was interesting. I couldn't meet him until about 3:30 in the afternoon. And so I made my son come with me because I was like, look, if I'm going to be stuck in traffic, I'm going to be carpooling. Okay.
Sure.
Because you need to now. I had to dig around for my new Flex Fast Track thing because I got a new one. And so I'm digging around in my car because I don't often use it because I don't drive and I didn't drive during those hours.
Using it for an express lane or something?
Yes. So I was like, well, if I'm going to be in you need it to ride in the carpool lane to get the discount. So it's 3 people, 3 or more for no toll. And then if you have 2 people, you get, I think, a 50% discount.
Okay.
All right. And I wasn't quite sure. I had a bunch of errands. I had to get my son and take him with me. And so I was coming a different way than I normally did. So I didn't know exactly. And there was that story about how there are 16 more miles of express lanes from Whipple in Redwood City on the south to I-380 to the north. All of these express lanes just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. They're going to make it to San Jose, and then I'm really going to be up a creek.
As if we don't pay enough in taxes already to maintain the roads. Now they want us to pay to...
No. Okay, so here's my thing, and maybe someone in the live chat, or maybe Kim, I don't know if you have experience with this. So this is my first time, and don't laugh, but this is my first time using the Flex Fast Track transponder. So I put it up, by my rearview mirror, and I put it to 2, so I didn't lie. This was me and my son, and I go, and when you ride in the express lane, it shows a number, and it kept saying 1. Now, my son was in the back because he's supposed to ride in the back. Anybody know if I'm going to get charged full price for this?
I wonder if maybe the camera didn't see him. Maybe he was shorter and it didn't catch him.
But I mean, if you ride with a baby, you can ride in the carpool lane. If you ride with 2 babies, it's free. So this is what bothers me about technology. Kim says he's too short. They couldn't see him. But he's a kid. He's a normal kid size. It doesn't. So how do I fight this? So if they come, do they take a picture from the front and the back? because I'm not paying full price because it was kind of
Well, then you have to
spendy.
call
$2.
them and say, I had my son in the car. And then, then you have to ask, is it worth the,
Yes,
20,
always.
30 minutes you're going to be on the phone
Yes,
to save?
always.
How much would you have saved? Like $4?
Well, okay, so I think it was like 50 cents the way there because it was opposite commute. And then on the way back, I think it was like $1.90. But if it was half price, it'd be like $1, right? A little less than.
So you're
So
going to spend all this time and effort to
it
contest
is the
something that
principle
it
of the
might
thing,
save you
Kim McAllister.
$2? I don't know.
But look, okay,
2.50.
so
I
if
want
I
my
live in your
$2.
world, Kim McAllister, I'm like, is $2 worth it? Think about how that multiplies over and over again. If I have a bunch of Kim McAllisters and not enough Nikki Medoros out there, right? They're going to
It's
collect
true.
millions from us. No freaking way.
You
Oh,
got to
I
hold
will
people
have joy.
accountable. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have someone that's trying to weigh in on how to pronounce Adele's name. I'll get to that later this show. I promise. I'll get to it. You're going to hear her say it. And she says it multiple times. And it's kind of like you're saying the same word, but you're not quite saying the same word.
It's too late. We say it this way. It's done.
Well, it's just like Chrissy Teigen. It's actually Teigen, but everyone said Teigen. And so she just goes by Teigen. But you actually pronounce Chrissy Teigen's name Teigen, but she gave it up. So
not anymore. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Speak up, people, or people mispronounce your name for the rest of your life. Okay, so hopefully I'll keep you updated on my debacle with the carpool express lane. A couple lists I want to mention. Best cities for remote work. The New York Times comes out with this article, and it says a study ranked large U.S. cities on how friendly they are to remote workers. And then it says, in parentheses, forget about California.
Why?
Apparently, we do not make the list. Ranked the lowest, every single one on this list is in California. A lot of them are in Southern California. Salinas, I think, is the closest to us. 198th for workplace, 194th for affordability. What's interesting? They don't have number 1 up here, but number 2 is Frisco, Texas, and you have to live in Texas. Yeah. Seattle was mentioned 8th for earning potential, 10th for connectivity. That's a good point. You need to be able to connect. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, basically, we're making it work, Kim McAllister. So, it's not all bad. I guess
me just barely.
Well, we're working out of our home and we're making it work. How about that? Speaking of remote work and not driving around, or if you have to drive around, apparently Tucker Carlson, among others, Fox News host Tucker Carlson on October 27th claims, I just love when they claim this crap and then people go with it, claim that by the Monday of Thanksgiving week, or in 25 days, there will be no more diesel fuel in the United States. Apparently garnered a 316,000 views, and of course went from there. So here's the question.
Do we believe anything he says?
No, you should not. Should I listen to Tucker Carlson? No. The answer is never listen to Tucker Carlson. But anyways, he has such a reach that you have to address his nonsense. So the number that he is citing is from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the EIA. And for the week ending October 21st, EIA data show the U.S. has 25.9 days worth of supply of diesel fuel. So you're saying, what are you talking about, Nikki? Obviously, he was telling the truth. But oil experts say it doesn't mean the U.S. will run out of diesel fuel, you moron. Instead, the metric measures the days worth of supply if U.S. refineries stop producing oil completely and the industry stopped importing it from other countries. Is that happening? No, it is not. It's calculated by taking... Go ahead.
You kind of have to know what you're looking at when you look at these numbers. Like if you don't understand the statistics that you're reading, then you really shouldn't be commenting on them, right?
Well, of course he's trying to make a political statement. He's trying to talk about oil production in this country. He's trying to criticize President Biden. He's trying to do all these things, but he's putting the fear of God in some people. And when we talk about things like prices, emotion, perception can kind of overtake reality. So, what if there is a rush on diesel fuel because some people are buying into this nonsense, and all of these sorts of things can mess with the market. And I'm not saying that that's happening, but Tucker Carlson's full of it. And if I ever have an opportunity to tell you that Tucker Carlson is full of it, I take advantage of that completely. San Francisco teachers are staging a sick out today. I don't know if you have this in your news, Kim. George Washington High School teachers called in sick today. They're protesting the district's ongoing payroll debacle. Now, I've been hearing about this. So apparently, this has been going on since January. The district apparently transitioned to a new payroll system. And so some people just weren't getting paid. They weren't getting their checks. Their medical insurance was being canceled. They were getting wrong paycheck deductions. You want to talk about a mess. And so they're like, they keep telling us that they're going to fix it, and they're not. Now, the San Francisco School Board voted in September to spend more than almost $3 million to repair the $14 million payroll system. And they still don't know what the problem is and why it's taking so long to fix. So teachers at San Francisco's George Washington High School were like, you know what? If you're not going to pay me, I'm not coming to work. Now, of course, I would have done it yesterday. The day after
or
Halloween.
Maybe, I don't know, several months ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't even I wouldn't even lasted 2 months. We're in October. Oh, we're in November. Pardon me. You've been dealing with this since January? No. Now, of course,
I like the shark costume there at the press conference. Pretty nice.
They're sharks. I think that's calling them a bad name. There you go. Now, of course, this comes as all school districts seem to be facing this teacher shortage. And as if we need a confluence of problems in this arena, California schools are scrambling to find enough teachers to teach transitional kindergarten as the state expands transitional kindergarten. Back to my human infrastructure theory. We have big ideas, but we don't think about the people that we need in order to implement it. You can stand on the mountaintop and scream solutions, but if there's not the people that are trained or willing or being paid enough to do it, you're creating a whole nother problem. So a California transitional kindergarten was first offered in 2012. Now, this was to 4-year-olds who turned 5 between September 1st and December 4th. Then these children had previously enrolled in kindergarten, but in 2010, a new law required them to turn 5 by September 1st to enter kindergarten. So they're expanding transitional kindergarten. By 2025-2026 school year, all 4-year-olds will be eligible to go to transitional kindergarten. And at that point, up to 500,000 California children will be eligible to attend transitional kindergarten. More than 300,000 are likely to be enrolled. And there's an estimate that California will need between 12 and 16,000 transitional kindergarten teachers and assistants, so pretty much the same amount of assistants for these classrooms. It's a tough gig. It sounds fun to teach kindergarten. I can't imagine what it must be like to try to wrangle 25 4 and 5-year-olds? That you could not pay me enough to handle that. Every single time I remember dropping the kids off, like, good luck. You know what I mean? Like at the daycare before I send them to kindergarten, and after I'm like, they don't let their shoes are itchy. Someone has the ball that they want. I'm like, I'm sorry. There's someone that's paid to do that. Well, now we're running out of the people that are willing to take the pay that they're offering to do these jobs. Now, if you're thinking of becoming a transitional kindergarten teacher, they're making it easier. A teacher with a multiple subject credential with 24 units of early childhood development completed by August is qualified, or a child development permit is qualified. There's also a temporary waiver available to teach for those with preschool experience, a bachelor's degree, and early childhood development credits. I don't know if you need all three. Like, I have a bachelor's degree.
All that for $52,000 a year.
And 4 and 5-year-olds. No, thank you. California is also developing a new credential approved by the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing last month. The PK through 3 early learning credential will cover transitional kindergarten through 3rd grade. You got to pay people more. You nailed it, Kim. I mean, you have to pay people enough to want to put up with all of the nonsense. Because imagine, all right, I go through the credentialing, I get my classroom, I don't get the pay that I want, but okay, I love the job. And then all of a sudden you have what happens in San Francisco. Now they're not even paying me. So a lot of nonsense that we just don't need to deal with. Okay. Well, again, as I'm thinking of it, please click the thumbs up button right now on this show and every single show. It helps us. It really helps expand exposure to the show. And that's what we need to keep it going. If you want to continue to hear me, Kim, and on Mark's show, Mark and all of them, you have to click the thumbs up button. It helps. It helps expose us and grow our listener base and all of those sorts of things. So if you could do that right now, please do. The super chat is live right now. And a big thank you. We'll do some thank yous after Kim's news as well. Anybody that can throw some bucks, you can get a super sticker. Your super chat is pinned. I'm going to give you a shout out. I'll read your message. I promise. So if you want to do that right now, please do. And if you want to subscribe to our Patreon and be a monthly subscriber, that would be awesome. So just go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com. The links to not only our YouTube shows to share with your friends, but our Patreon is right there. And you could donate any amount. We really, really do appreciate it because we want to keep the show going. And the only way we can is with money. All right, let's take a look at some headlines with Kim.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Wall Street closing with stalker after the Federal Reserve announced another interest rate hike. The central bank raising rates by 0.75 percentage point today in an effort to fight inflation. And Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said it's premature to talk about pausing these rate hikes. A nationwide catalytic converter theft ring being shut down by the feds. NBC reports the FBI made arrests in several states, and the Department of Justice is expected to announce charges. Catalytic converters are targeted for theft because of the high-value precious metals that they use. Ukraine's first lady is asking for more military aid as the war with Russia drags on. Olena Zelenska also expressing concern about approaching winter and how this could affect Ukraine as it fights back. She noted speaking about more assistance is really outside of her traditional duties as First Lady. But you know what? During war, those traditional roles are tossed out the window. A witness in the Keeper's seditious conspiracy trial says the far-right group's leader asked former President Trump to arrest members of Congress last year's riot. The message calling upon Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act to stay in power was never delivered to him, they say. Parents are demanding action after a hateful racist message was found inside of a Thornhill Elementary School bathroom in Oakland. Incidents involving hateful messages at schools are happening across the state, including one case where a Black former vice principal in Sacramento had a hateful message written on her parking spot. City of San Francisco putting out the call for help come Election Day. The city needs poll workers fluent in other languages like Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and Spanish. Voters are also reminded there will be 87 fewer polling places on Tuesday because of redistricting. Signs will be up at old locations directing people where to go, where their new location is. The Department of Elections says the turnout is about 15% so far, with 75,000 ballots received in the city of San Francisco. An Illinois man is facing charges for handing out candy in bags previously that contained marijuana on Halloween. Yeah, that's a bad choice.
You're like, this smells familiar.
No, thank you. Not to be taking that one for the trash.
There was no weed in it, right? It was just the bags that were used, right?
Right, sure. South Chicago Heights police say the suspect admitted to putting gummy bears in the used packaging and handing out about 20 bags. The suspect charged with 5 counts of child endangerment.
I mean, reduce, reuse, recycle, right? I mean, I guess he could have washed them out a bit, but You're
I
not going
guess
to get
maybe
high from it.
the residue could get on to the gummy bears. But here's the question. I mean, whether or not you knew that the bags had been used for marijuana,
Uh-huh.
gummy bears like home wrapped in a plastic bag, that's immediate
Oh,
trash to
yeah,
me.
that's true. Yeah, I would never have
Like
given
it's
you're
not even
absolutely right.
in the candy wrapper. It's just like you took a few gummy bears and threw them in a plastic bag.
He's having the munchies, and he's like, "I'll share these with the kids. It's fine. I'll just share some of
Appreciate your
this."
generosity, but thank you, but no thank you. So, okay, so put away the witches. It is time to plan your Christmas tree and help the
Mm.
forest too. You can now buy a permit to cut down Christmas trees in many national forests. Forest rangers say the cutting of Christmas trees helps improve rather the health of the forest. The permit system helps to thin dense groves of smaller diameter trees, and that apparently helps other trees grow larger, helps wildlife forage for food. Local experts determine the areas where the program offers the most benefit. And to find that, you can go to recreation.gov. Do you go chop down your own tree?
We have, and then sometimes I'm just like, "Go get the tree at Home Depot, please. Like, just stop. Just go get it. I don't
Just do
care."
it fast.
My
Yeah.
mom is a big proponent. She's moved over to the artificial tree,
Mm.
which
So
sounds
has my mom. I just,
it looks really easy, and it looks nice and it's all lit up and you don't have to worry about that.
it's
It's
fake
just
and
one of those headaches.
doesn't smell
Yeah.
good.
No, it doesn't smell at all, right? So,
And then you
no.
got to find a place in your garage to keep the tree all year.
I would just probably, knowing my lazy ass, it'd be up here in April still. Like, I would just be like, "Oh, yeah, there's the tree still. Just keep it up."
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. And if you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call. It's 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can reach him on the web at
MOSKOWITZLLP.com.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
I saw somewhere in the live chat that somebody has the jingle already stuck in their head. See?
All
I'm
right.
telling you. Maybe I should be a jingle writer. I mean, I came up with it. I did have a rap version. I'm not feeling confident enough to rap it, but I was rapping the letters. I was like, I could maybe do that, but I like my jingle better. So there you go. But of course, please do support Steve Moskowitz. He is our founding sponsor, and we really appreciate all of his help and all of your guys' help. Honestly, joining the show, sharing the show, donating to our Patreon and our super chat really, really helps us keep the lights on. Okay, so let's talk about social media as we head to this next election. So TikTok, it might get banned. On a side note, TikTok may not be around in the US if they can't figure out an American company to kind of take it over from ByteDance in America, because so many national security people are saying no on the TikTok. Now, 3 years ago, TikTok imposed strict rules that prohibited campaign advertising. Well, if you are on TikTok, or even if people share things with you, candidates are on there. Nearly 30% of all major party candidates in Senate races have TikTok accounts. 1/5 of all major party House candidates have an account on the platform. Democrats are more likely to embrace the app. 34% of candidates in Senate, House, Governor, and Secretary of State races have TikTok accounts. 12% of Republican candidates in the same races also have TikTok accounts. Now, why? Why would you want to have a TikTok? Well, because that's where the kids are. That's where the young adults are. A lot of them. I mean, I know people my age and older who like it, and again, I'll say this: it is a time suck, just like Facebook was. I feel like TikTok is a little bit better at it because it's these videos, and they have the For You page, and Reels is kind of like that. That's what Facebook and Instagram have. But yeah, it's somewhere where you can find funny videos, but it is this way of them reaching to you. And then, of course, when something is free, you then become the product, right? You're what they're trying to sell. And so, in light of all this, in light of social media and the impact, and of course on TikTok, there's this video that's been going around. And it's actually from several years ago. Bo Burnham, I don't know, he's a comedian, he's a writer, and he had come and was actually part of a panel looking at the impact of social media on self-esteem. It was 3 years ago. Ginger Z from Good Morning America was actually hosting this panel. And the topic was self-esteem in the age of social media. Again, this was 3 years ago, but Bo Burnham was on TikTok and Instagram. He shared it everywhere. And he says, it's interesting that this was a 2019 panel prior to the TikTok boom. And now this app has become the extreme pinnacle of exactly this. And so what is this? I'm going to play it for you and we'll discuss it throughout. I'll stop it a little bit because I really want to digest what he's saying. And because what I think he's saying is really important. So there he is. That's Bo Burnham. Many of you may recognize him. And so he's talking about what social media, what content creation is and what it's doing to us.
Difficult questions of the sort of weird meta like hellscape that it is to be online. It's weird and it's complicated and the kids know it and they sense it. They're coming for every second of your life. That's what these companies are coming to. This company as well. And it's not because anyone is bad. It's not because anyone in this company has evil plans or is trying to do this. They're not even doing it consciously. It's because these companies like Twitter and YouTube and Instagram, everything, they went public and they went to shareholders. So they have to grow. Their entire models are based off of growth.
I wanted to stop there because, again, it goes into this idea of what's more important. The product, us, because we're the product. We understand this. We're not paying for it, at least not at this point for Twitter. So we're the product. And so we need to continue to grow and we continue to need to get eyeballs. And so what is the way that we're going to do that? Well, it could be by spewing nonsense, misinformation, falsehoods. It could be to divide us, to get us enraged so that we go back onto the platform.
They cannot stay stagnant. YouTube, Twitter grossed $4-5 billion last year. It is in the red. It is unprofitable. It has to get more of you. No matter how nice it's trying to be, it is all that they're trying to get more engagement from you. We used to colonize land. That was the thing you could expand into. And that's where money was to be made. We colonized the entire earth. There was no other place for the businesses and capitalism to expand into. And then they realized human attention. That they are now trying to colonize every minute of your life.
Every minute of your life. That's what he's saying. And I think it's so true. I really think, and again, that's the voice of Bo Burnham. If you're listening to this on the podcast, and many people are just, I guess, discovering him and how, I don't want to use the word woke, but just how he sees it. And the funny thing is, and I think he touches in it, and I'll play a little bit more in just a moment. He understands what it means to be him, a content creator, wanting some of your eyeballs. Kim, I mean, we're learning it as well, right? How do we put on an engaging show while, kind of feeding the beast and being there for our listeners in a responsible way? And it's very, very hard.
That is what these people are trying to do. Every single free moment you have is a moment you could be looking at your phone and they could be gathering information to target ads at you. That's what's happening. So like as much as we can, as have really good conversations and try to humanize the conversations, the like mechanism of the business is rolling towards that just because of the market. So like it's coming. It's coming for every free second you have. And that's dark. That's really, really dark. And
I want you to listen to this next part that he talks about because he's talking about our kids. And Kim, you might relate to this, although I know that your children aren't on social media and maybe in the future when they're teenagers or young adults. But listen to what he says about how the kids understand what's happening to them.
Scary. And for someone like me, I grew up a little bit on the internet, and I felt the repercussions of it. I suffered from anxiety. So I know where it leads. And I'm saying, like, you don't want this. Trust me. Like, you're not going to feel good about yourself. And you know it. The kids know it. Like, the whole joke on the internet is everyone's like, this place sucks, right? I mean, like, that's like kind of the thing. That's why their memes are all ironic and detached and self-referential and 12 layers deep because truth is completely them and they know it. They look at the president, they look at the culture, they go, what the hell is this? They look at like Coca-Cola commercials that are winking at them and smiling and they go like, forget it, So like, ugh, I have no idea what's going to happen.
And I mean, it's kind of depressing when you put it that way, but he's right. And we keep On one hand, we know these things intellectually, and on the other hand, we continue to be part of the machine of it all. And so, how do we fight back? Is it by sharing a meme or a news story or something on social media that gets engagements? I don't know, but it's going to be a bit frightening to see what our politics are going to look like, what our country is going to look like, what our world is going to look like if we continue to allow social media to influence everything from taking away, from destroying basically local news, right?
Yeah.
Now I was just listening, Kim, to this other, I forget what town they were talking about, but this town is giving out fake newspapers because there's no local newspaper in the town anymore. And it's like far right-wing groups that are doing this, spewing complete lies, but it looks like a newspaper.
Oh no.
And that's what's frightening.
It's really scary. I wanted to mention that the interview that you were just talking about really reminded me about this documentary, The Social Dilemma.
I watched that.
Really went about Facebook and how these social media companies, once you click on something, then they're like, okay, well, she likes this. So we're going to give her this next. We're going to give her this next. We're going to feed her all these things so that she doesn't leave. And the more they feed you and the more you're looking at it, and the more you're scrolling and clicking and scrolling and clicking, the better, the more success that they feel that they have, the more moments of your life they've claimed. He's completely right. They want to keep you on as long as they possibly can. They want your attention.
Exactly. And I understand if it's for something good. I mean, we know how social media has helped so many organizations, nonprofits, charities, families that are devastated when the wildfires happen. I mean, it gets people to rally around. I get the benefit, but the negative, how do we avoid that? And so I don't know. It was just interesting that was back in 2019. And it's today on Twitter, it's one of the top things is Bo Burnham's speech because it's resonating with people once again. And it's frightening. And we really, I don't know what the answer is. Sorry. I'm kind of like him. He's just like, it's dark and I don't know what's going to happen. And I still don't know what's going to happen.
The cat's out of the bag. Like social media is here to stay. So how do we fix it to make it better, and so that the positive parts that you were talking about, where there's a wildfire or where you need to mark yourself safe or where we need to rally around and donate or you want to find a long lost friend, well, we keep the positives, that we kick out those negatives. Is there a way to do that?
And maybe Elon Musk is right. Maybe it's paying for it. If you had to pay for it, maybe you would be more thoughtful. It's kind of that joke that Chris Rock told, and it's kind of dark, but about bullets. You want to solve the gun problem, charge like $5,000 a bullet or something, because then you won't miss, right? You're not just going to fire off willy-nilly. Maybe making people have a little bit of financial skin in the game. Now, I'm not saying per post, but maybe, you want to post that? We're detecting some, divisive language. You sure you want to do it? And make them financially do it, on one hand, could be a kind of a control, or it could also make it so only rich people get to control the narrative. And so it's kind of that double-edged sword where I don't think that there's a fix except people being fed up with it and just getting off the platforms altogether. But I was laundry listing all the celebrities that said that they were leaving Twitter yesterday and their profiles are still active. So it's not as if they really, really left. They're just not tweeting anymore. So I don't know.
I have to respond to Vilma's text. She says, or chat, isn't this the very thing that's going to keep this program on YouTube? I don't think so.
Well, this isn't, it's not exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I think we're doing a show. We're doing a 2-hour show. And I don't necessarily think that we are spoon feeding you conspiracy theories or things that will, make you stay when you need to go. You can record it, you can watch it whenever. I feel like it's different, but maybe I need to put more thought into that. I don't know.
Well, this is a program that people are, subscribing to and donating money to keep going. Right. But with Twitter, and of course we have our sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. So, that's one way of, I guess, monetizing your ears or your eyeballs. But I think that with, Twitter and Facebook and that Social Dilemma documentary that you were mentioning, it's what they're choosing to feed you, even when they know that it's turning negative, right? This is a live broadcast and it's a bit different, and we're providing something for you, right? We're trying to do this. The manipulation, and again, if you haven't seen Social Dilemma, You have to watch it. The manipulation that leads people to do things in their real lives, I think is a different thing than what we're doing, just hosting a live show on YouTube. Having a job, making a product, getting people to pay for that product, that's one thing. Using your reach to manipulate people, I think, is a completely different thing. But yeah, it's a good point. All right. Well, we have about 10 minutes left, and I did get my Powerball ticket. We already talked about that, Kim. I got your email that I guess we're gonna go in on something because I'm down.
We're all kicking in $20.
Done.
Mark, John, I think Tony's in. I'm in. You're in.
Done.
Yeah,
Done.
so
Done.
we're going to do a pool. And then, of course, if we win, we're going to put in an offer for, I don't know if we're going to do that, but that'd be pretty
we're
funny,
gonna get, we're gonna get all the bells and whistles that we've been promising all of you. So
that's right.
Yeah, my husband bought a Powerball ticket. We're in it. But I don't know if he's hit the lottery. I feel like he has not. Now, I'm not gonna bat an eye at $20 million. If I received $20 million, it would be life-changing money, right?
Yeah.
But if you're getting $20 million for most of your life's work, is it enough? Are you surprised that Huey Lewis and the News has sold most of their catalog for $20 million?
Wow.
Does that
I would have thought it would have been worth more.
Yes, right? Yeah. When they said 20 million, I was thinking, okay, $100 million, something like that. I mean, we are talking about all the hits. I mean, most of the hits came 1994 and before that, right? I mean, I had a Huey Lewis cassette tape and I played it forever. Hip to Be Square was one of my songs when I was in dance and I danced. We totally did a dance to that song. I loved Huey Lewis and the News. And what's happened to him is so sad. He has that inner ear disorder. I was reading an article. It kind of gives that ringing sound. Is it tinnitus or something?
Yeah.
And it was giving him vertigo. And I can't imagine trying to live with a ringing in your ears constantly. Like he said, he was suicidal because he just, I mean, think about that. Like not being able to turn it off. So much so, he was saying that when it first happened, I think I'm correct, that he was on stage or he was rehearsing. He thought someone had dropped a chair or something had banged real loud. And that's, I guess, when it happened. And he just wasn't able to get the ringing. And sometimes it's worse. And sometimes it's actually not too bad. But he can't tour anymore because he has to plan it months in advance. And he doesn't know if it's going to be, at its worst. So he's not touring anymore. Huey Lewis is 72 years old. He hasn't been able to perform since 2018. I think I'm pronouncing this correctly. Meniere's disease, that's the inner ear disorder. There's no cure or treatment. And so they're saying that this catalog sale, which I think they were ripped off, 20 million for all of those songs. I mean, they don't own the songs anymore, but they're saying it will offset some of the losses that the band members have incurred because they haven't been able to tour for the past 4 years. So
yeah, clearly they needed the money. And I don't know how many members are there in the News, Huey Lewis and the News.
4? I don't know.
So they've got to split it. And
how many newses are there?
They're not spring chickens anymore. So what are they in their 60s or 70s?
Yeah, Huey Lewis members. Okay, let's see.
They're older. So even if they got 5 million
lead vocals on him. Okay. Well, I see a picture and there's 4 people, including Huey Lewis. But he's had a lot of members. Huey Lewis, John Colas, Sean Hopper, Bill Gibson, John Pierce, Steph Burns, James Hara, Martin McFadden, Rob Sudduth, and Johnny Beaumont.
So do they have to split that 20 million between all of them?
Yeah, I loved Huey Lewis. Nikki, I had to stop what I was doing. Give props for Nikki shedding light on Huey Lewis on the News. Yeah. I was a huge fan. I absolutely loved it. I loved it. Speaking of the lottery, though, a man and getting a lot of money, a man has purchased a few $5 lottery tickets on a whim. And it's always these people, isn't it? It's the people like, I never buy a lottery ticket. Well, it paid off big.
And
this
that's
guy's
the guy
from
that wins, right?
63 years old. He's like, I decided to purchase a few $5 tickets on a whim. I started scratching the tickets when I got home and saw I matched a number. When I revealed the winning amount of $500,000, I was in disbelief. I've been playing for years hoping to win big and can't believe it finally happened. He's choosing to stay anonymous. He had played the $25 $25 million cash payout instant game. He bought his winning ticket at the JCJ Food in Detroit. You ever walk into a place to buy a lotto ticket and look around and be like, this place doesn't sell winners? But apparently that place sold him the winner. And he won $500,000. And one final story to lock out the show. The Dungeness crab season has been delayed again. That's not winners for crab fishermen out there. It was announced last Friday. It's going to be delayed because of the whales. This is the 4th year in a row the season's been delayed. I'm kind of thinking that we just need to adjust the season. They hope to begin December 1st. It all has to do with the humpback whales that are found along the California coast because they can get entangled in the crabbing lines and suffer significant injuries that hinder their ability to swim, eat, and of course, then they can die of starvation. And that's tough. You don't want to, have whales die because you need to eat your crab. Now, I don't personally, and I don't know what you eat on your Thanksgiving table, Kim, but I personally don't have crab at Thanksgiving. I don't really eat crab in November.
I know a lot of people who do,
for
though.
My family, we have a cioppino every Christmas Eve.
Can you hear me?
We have crab then. But that's it. Do I have Kim?
Yeah, you do, but I don't think you can hear me.
But yeah, so if you have crab as part of your Thanksgiving tradition, it's not going to be happening, at least not this year. Oh, big thank you to Andreas again for donating $20. Andreas, you're becoming just a huge donor for the show. I love people like you that donate pretty much every show. I really, really do appreciate it. It's all through the super chat. So if you're looking at the live chat and you see a $sign at the bottom, and if you're listening to this after the live broadcast, it may look different. Look for the $sign because you can still donate, apparently, even after the recording is done. I do want to let you know what we have coming up on tomorrow's show. Have you heard about the guerrilla gardening happening? It's happening in Alviso, in my neck of the woods, but it's also happening in a part of the Mission District in San Francisco. David Memorial Horowitz with Mission Local will be on with me talking about kind of the debate over this plot of land that nobody really owns. So if nobody owns it, what should it be used for? So David will kind of explain the whole kind of pressure to figure it out and who's going to take ownership of that piece of land. Luke Bryan, I've been wanting to get to this story. Luke Bryan bringing out Governor DeSantis. I think we talked about that a bit, but he brought out Governor DeSantis on stage. I'll play you some sound. I think I have video of that as well. And can you separate the politician and the politics when, let's say, you're raising money for hurricane victims? So we'll talk about that. A woman goes viral on TikTok because she accidentally booked a happy ending massage. So we'll break down her TikTok video. And there were so many points in time in which it would have ended before it got to where it got to. And so it's going to be a great laugh for us. And then
she doesn't know what I'm saying.
If you are looking to make some money, and how many of us are trying to do that if we don't win the Powerball, there is a way of raking in the dough by going number 2, but it's for a good reason.
Oh, we're winning the Powerball
because of all that, but it's a really good reason. So that's all coming up on tomorrow's show. One more time, I want to thank our founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. Give him a call, 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com, or of course, as I like to say, MoskowitzzLLP.com. Okay, so that's our show. Join us again tomorrow right here on YouTube. I really, really appreciate all of you. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks,
and we
everybody.
will, of course, talk tomorrow.
Oh, thanks, Harry.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.